When we become parents, we invest huge amounts of time, energy, and emotion in our children. We endure sleepless nights, share our knowledge and experience, help them find their footing, and worry about their every significant step. It seems like this bond is unbreakable, and that gratitude and respect will last forever. But in reality, there comes a time when our little ones are all grown up, living their own lives, forming their own values. Suddenly, we realize they're paying less attention to our requests and opinions. They rarely seek our input, and sometimes speak to us in a harsh tone or even treat us with outright disdain. If you've encountered such a situation, don't rush to blame yourself or your children. Let's analyze why this happens and what can be done to restore respect and warm relationships without escalating things into open conflict. One of the main problems here is what's sometimes called role reversal. When our kids were 5, 10, 15, we were their main mentors and support, and they hung on every word we said because parents know best. But over time, young people grow up, gain their own experience, start families, develop personal beliefs, and form their own perspectives. Deep down, they're still your children, but outwardly, they begin to see you almost like a peer, or even condescendingly. Sometimes it feels as though they don't recognize that you're someone worthy of the most basic respect. Worse yet, some adult children start to teach their parents about life, how to run a household, what items to buy, how to spend money, or whom to associate with. And if you try to disagree, it can escalate into a heated argument with mutual accusations and even greater alienation. If you feel like everything is hopeless, that's not the case. There's a way to fix things. However, be aware that you'll need to be part of that change too. Your children might not realize they're acting disrespectfully, and you might not notice that you've been lowering the bar for a long time, allowing them to treat you in ways you really don't like. Below, I'll talk about 6 key steps to take if you want to strengthen your relationship with your adult children and bring back the attention you deserve as an individual. And yes, these steps don't require dramatic showdowns, ultimatums, or endless moralizing that only drives people further away. All it takes is a bit of adjustment in how you view yourself, your children, and how you interact with one another. Step 1. Stop trying to win their approval at all costs. This can be one of the trickiest points. It might seem harmless to go out of your way to be as helpful as possible to your kids, especially if you see them overwhelmed with work or worries. But the truth is that constantly trying to be good and earn another round of praise often leads to people taking your help for granted. When you bend over backward to accommodate their moods, agree with every opinion, and hurry to fulfill every request, they start viewing it as normal, everyday behavior. Imagine you drop everything whenever they need something, change your plans, give up your free time. Sometimes they'll say, "Thank you," but very soon your assistance just becomes an expectation, nothing special. They think, "Well, you're my parent, that's your job." But we all want to be remembered. We all want someone to ask how we're doing, to say a kind word. When that doesn't happen, we feel hurt. A silent internal conflict begins. I do everything for them and get nothing in return. But children may not feel guilt or a sense of responsibility because they've grown accustomed to your willingness to help. So instead of proving your love by offering endless services, start reminding them gently, I have my own plans and needs too. Don't be afraid to say no if a request clashes with your schedule, well-being, or personal boundaries. At first, your children might be puzzled or even frustrated, but over time they'll realize you're not just a service provider, but a person with real needs. And that instantly changes how they perceive you. Step 2, don't argue, demonstrate calmness and confidence. Often when children speak harshly or dismissively, we feel the urge to put them in their place. How dare you? I'm older and wiser. Listen to me. But life shows that such ultimatums only strengthen your kids' resistance. Adults don't appreciate being backed into a corner, even by their parents. The result is that children either withdraw or get even more hostile, putting up a wall of misunderstanding in seconds. If you notice tension rising in a conversation, try a different approach. Gather your inner reserve of calm, remind yourself that you are a person worthy of good treatment, and speak to them in a measured tone, without accusations or condescension. Stay focused on the issue, avoiding personal attacks. Suppose your son or daughter abruptly cuts you off in a discussion about a family matter. Instead of saying, "Don't you dare speak to me like that," you might calmly say, I don't like this tone. I'd like to continue the conversation, but let's do it without raising voices or throwing blame. This approach often carries more weight than emotional outbursts. Why? Because it shows you aren't dependent on negative emotions, and it proves you can't be easily thrown off balance. Your children see that you're not a weak figure who can be bent by anger or rudeness. Deep down, this fosters respect, even if outwardly they may grumble or try to brush you off initially. Step 3. Free yourself from strong emotional dependence on your children. There was a time when your entire world really did revolve around your son or daughter. That made sense when they were small. But if they're grown up now and you still expect daily phone calls, constant visits, and unending attention, like they're your only source of happiness, you risk creating an unhealthy atmosphere. Imagine your children are working, have families, obligations, or deadlines, and are feeling stressed. Then they get a parent who is, directly or indirectly, saying, "Call me. Why haven't you called? I'm lonely." This can come across as a burden to them, or they may react with distant politeness or even annoyance, because they already have little time for their own lives. The end result? You feel ignored and they feel pressured. What can you do? Shift your focus to yourself, your own hobbies, interests, and activities. If you've wanted to start exercising but always postponed it, maybe now is the time to join a swimming class or a group workout. Perhaps you've always liked drawing but assumed it was just for young people. It's not. Or maybe you'd enjoy spending more time with friends, traveling, even if just day trips to nearby scenic spots. When your children see you have a life of your own, they'll be more inclined to reach out to you. Paradoxically, the less you demand their attention, the more readily they may start offering it. After all, nobody likes feeling that someone else's emotional well-being depends solely on them. Step 4. Clearly define your personal boundaries and act if they're violated. Sometimes adult children behave as if anything is allowed in a parent's life, without realizing it might be disrespectful. For example, they come into your home unannounced and start rearranging furniture their way, criticize your cooking or grocery choices, or constantly talk down to you because they believe the parent will endure anything. Look at the situation realistically. Maybe you yourself allowed this attitude to take root. You kept quiet when you heard harsh remarks, perhaps not wanting to start a fight or cause friction among siblings. But if you never indicate that it bothers you, they'll keep repeating the behavior. So if your adult child speaks rudely, try calmly stopping them and saying, "I'm not okay with that tone. I'm ready to hear your opinion, but please speak respectfully." If they persist, you can end the conversation. We'll continue when you can talk calmly. Maintain confidence without resorting to drama. While your child might be upset at first, it sends a clear message. You can't treat me this way. If you're consistent in addressing these moments, they'll realize that you are not a punching bag and that you must be treated with consideration. Boundaries are foundational for healthy family interaction. Step 5. Stop giving away resources where there's no gratitude or respect. Many parents, even after facing dismissive behavior, keep helping financially, handing over large portions of their pension, taking out loans to support their children's needs, or babysitting grandchildren 24/7, without hearing a single thank you. Even worse, some children, sensing this constant subservience, start telling parents how they should spend the remaining money and time. And if you refuse, they look at you resentfully. "How could you do that? You're my parent. You must help." You end up trapped, continuing to give and sacrificing yourself without any appreciation, or refusing and facing blame or guilt tripping. Remember the wise principle: if you want to be valued, show that your actions are a choice, not an obligation. When we do things for people constantly, they begin to take it for granted and lose any sense of gratitude. Try reducing or completely stopping excessive handouts, explaining that you want to spend time and resources on yourself and your own life. Children who grew accustomed to constant support might get upset or fail to understand your decision at first. But eventually it signals to them that you value your own resources and expect them to be respected in turn. When people recognize that parental help is a gift rather than a duty, they approach it with far more appreciation. Step 6. Cultivate a life of your own that doesn't depend on your children. This is a particular sore point for many parents. After raising children, they seem not to know how to fill their time, or direct their energy. You'd think these are the long-awaited peaceful years, but sometimes they feel empty because the main mission, raising and educating, has been accomplished and what's left is a void. Many older adults then invest all their attention in what's going on with their adult children, creating the impression that the parent has no personal circle of interests. But getting older doesn't mean a sentence to loneliness or boredom. Plenty of people of mature age have opportunities they might never have considered. Consciously find a sphere that brings you joy, that makes you feel needed and full of energy. Maybe you want to learn more about using computers so you can connect with friends online, join forums, or read about your favorite hobbies. Perhaps you always loved singing and now you want to find a choir or community group. Or maybe there's a travel club that arranges excursions to local nature spots. When your children see that you have an active life rather than endless waiting for them to remember you, they'll begin to respect you as an individual who has found a way to thrive in this new stage of life. Sometimes parents feel embarrassed or believe, at my age, it's too late to start anything new. That's a myth. It's never too late to begin. Truly wise adult children will be glad their parent isn't stuck in old routines, but instead keeps moving forward, learning new things. Such an attitude inspires and naturally commands respect. If you've read through these 6 steps and think, it sounds nice, but my case is too complicated, give yourself a chance. Sometimes change starts small. A single, clearly voiced, this doesn't work for me, or the first time in ages that you say, I can't help with that right now. I have other plans. Your children might be taken aback or even feel offended initially, but if you stay consistent and composed, they'll see you have an inner core that no amount of manipulation can break. That will signal to them, a parent is not a faceless service entity, but a complete individual who deserves serious treatment. I want to emphasize everything mentioned here isn't meant to destroy relationships or reduce communication to zero. On the contrary, it helps bring your relationship to a more mature level. When parents stop sacrificing everything for their kids, and the kids realize that the parents have their own interests, positions, and boundaries, mutual respect and genuine warmth come more naturally. Yes, before that happens, you might have a transitional period where you're inconvenient for your children because you're no longer willing to submit to everything they want, but it's worth it in the long run. Another thing, don't forget that any change takes time, and it's crucial to maintain goodwill where possible. Always bear in mind that your kids are part of your family and your life. There's a special bond between you. If you can maintain self-respect without turning the children into the accused, you'll be surprised at how much can change. Sometimes the difference between an accusation like, you always, and a calmer statement like, I feel hurt when, is enough to make a child realize it's not okay to cross that line anymore. To wrap up, even if your children have long stopped showing you the respect you feel you deserve, that doesn't mean it's lost forever. Start by reclaiming your sense of dignity. Remember that the world doesn't revolve around their opinions of you, and that there are people and opportunities around you beyond just your children. Once they notice your self-esteem no longer hinges on their reactions or actions, their perspective on you shifts. You're no longer doing everything for them. You're a father or mother who is self-sufficient and demands to be treated with care. Respect isn't begged for. It grows wherever everyone involved recognizes each other's worth and doesn't try to impose their will on the other. If this advice and these thoughts resonate with you, please share your impressions. Let us know what situations you've encountered, what worked for you, and what didn't. Often, other people's experiences offer a new perspective and remind us that there's always a way out of tough situations. Leave a like if you found this content helpful, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss upcoming episodes where we talk about family harmony, personal growth at any age, and staying happy and confident regardless of circumstances. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next release.